Hi all, today we'll discuss top 100 Java with microservice real-time interview questions latest in 2024. So what all are the common questions interviewer will ask related for Java with microservice requirement? So if we go for the Java with microservices, so there we have a Spring Boot, Kafka, REST API, deployments, clouds, this all will come, but mostly these all are related for Java with microservices. So we will consider first Java fundamentals. So what all are the scenarios or interview types will be based on the Java fundamental questions. So there are multiple ways they will ask the different questions in the Java fundamental. So the first question is, what is the main features of Java 17? If we are going for the microservice Spring Boot related development, so right now most of the company they are using Java 8 or Java 17. So they will ask what all are the main features of Java 17. Can you explain that? And the next question is, explain the concept of Java memory model, JMM. So what is Java memory model, Sila? And the next question, what is difference between JDK, JRE and JVM? And the next question is, how does garbage collector work in Java? So what all are the garbage collectors and how it works? The next question is, explain the difference between checked exception and unchecked exception. And then next is, what is functional interface? How we will use for the functional interface. And the next is Java 8 related questions, like how does the Stream API worked in Java 8 and later. So the next question is, describe this usage of optional in Java. So how we will use the optional. The next is volatile keyword. What is volatile keyword? Then what is thread pool? So these all are the related for this Java fundamentals. Now coming for the object oriented programming OOPS concept. So they may be asked some four principles of OOPS. What all are the four principles of OOPS? Then explain the concept of inheritance in Java. What is polymorphism? How do we implement the polymorphism in Java? Describe encapsulation with examples. And then how does abstraction work? So these all are related for the OOPS concept if we are going for the Java with microservice requirement. Now coming for the advanced Java concept, so some of the interviewers will ask what is the purpose of synchronized keyword, how to use synchronized keyword, explain the wait and notify in Java method. The next goes, how does thread locals work? And the next is, how does annotations, how what all are the Java annotations and how we will use them. So Java annotations, there are multiple Java annotations mostly we are using. So what all are those we are using on the daily basis? Now the next question, describe the lambda expression. So in Java 8, what all are the lambda expressions and all? Coming for the microservice architecture, so they will ask what is microservice, what all are the main advantage of microservices, how do we handle the communication between microservice, what is service discovery, how we will implement this service discovery in microservice implementation. Explain the difference between REST and SOAP. What is the difference of REST and SOAP? And the next question is, what all are the common design patterns and microservices? What all are the common design patterns and microservices are there? The next question is, how do we manage configuration in microservice? And then next question is, what is API gateway and why we are using API gateway? What is the use of API gateways? The next is, describe the role of service registry. What is service registry and all? So, what all are the some common challenges when implementing microservices? What all are the challenges and all? Now we'll go for the next Spring framework. What is a Spring framework? So, a Spring framework. What is a Spring framework? What is a Spring Boot? This may be asked. They may be asked these things. And then, how does we create a Spring Boot applications? What is the purpose of a Spring Cloud? Explain Spring Data JPA. How does Spring security work? What is the use of REST controller annotation? Describe the auto-wire annotation at the rate auto-wire annotation. What is auto-wire annotation? What is the Spring Boot actuators? How we will use the Spring Boot actuators? How do we handle exception in Spring Boot? Explain the difference between at the rate component at the rate service at the rate repository annotation. So these all are related for the Spring framework. Now coming for the cloud and deployment, while we are developing a Java with a Spring Boot microservice development, we'll have a cloud and deployment. So how, which cloud we are using and how we are doing the deployment. So these all are the questions they will ask. What is Dockers? How we will use the Dockers in microservice. Explain the Kubernetes and its role in microservice. So what is the use of Kubernetes? And then what all are the benefits of container in microservice? How you will deploy this microservice on AWS or any other cloud? What is continuous integration and continuously deployment, CI/CD? What describe this concept of infrastructure as a code, IAC? What is IAC? It's a very important question. Now, how do you implement logging and monitoring in microservices? How we will use the logging monitoring in microservice? How you will handle the load balancer in microservice? So, what all are the load balancers in microservice role? And then how do you handle this versioning in microservice? So, it's a very important question. One many of the interviewers will ask. How do you handle versioning in microservice? And what is a sidecar pattern? What is sidecar pattern? So some of the product based company they will ask this type of question, sidecar patterns in microservices and all. Now coming for the testing and quality assurance. So this type of questions also has categorized here, how we will use the JUnit testings and why it is important for the microservices development. How do you perform the integration testing in microservice? What all are the contract tests, and explain the use of Mockito for mocking the test. What is the test driven development, TDD? Describe the Spring Boot test framework. What is Spring Boot test framework? What all are the common tools for the performance testing in microservices? How do you ensure that reliability of microservices? What is chaos engineering? It's a very important if you are going for the product based interview call. And then how do you implement the end-to-end testing in microservices? Now coming for the performance and optimization. So while you go for the performance and optimizations, there are many patterns will be asked by the interviewer, different patterns. So how do you optimize the performance in Java applications? So if you have Java application, how you are doing this performance? So what all are the best practice for writing the efficient Java code? How do you monitor the performance of microservice? What is circuit packet pattern and why we used? How do you handle the load balancer in microservice? Explain the importance of caching in microservice. What all are the caches we will enable in microservice and why and when to use? Explain the implement of distributed tracing. What is the common bottleneck in microservice? It's a very important question for the product based company. What is a common bottleneck microservice? What all are the common bottleneck? Now coming for this next, so we have a how we will handle the data consistency in microservice and bulkhead patterns. So it's very important questions in development of product based interview questions. So bulkhead patterns. What is bulkhead patterns in microservice? Coming for the security, we have a multiple security based interview question. Now we will check like how do we secure the REST API services if you developed. Then what is the JWT token and how are they used in microservice? We have a multiple authentications. What is OAuth 2 and it used in microservice when it is used in microservice? How do you implement the role based access control in microservice? What is CSRF? It's a very important question and how do we prevent it? What is the best practice for securing the microservices? How do we handle the data encryption in microservice? Explain the use of API keys. What all are the API keys? The next is what is security gateway and how you ensure the communications, secure communication from one microservice to another microservices. Now there will be some database connectivities and data management related, which is needed in microservice development. So how do you manage the transaction in microservice? What is distributed transaction? Explain the cap theorem is a very important question. How do you implement eventual consistency? What is the difference between database used in microservice? How do you handle schema changes in microservice? What is database sharding? Is a very important question. How do you manage data migration in microservice? And how what is the role of ORM services? And how you handle the data applications. So these all are the database and data management related microservice interview questions. Coming for this miscellaneous, so there are some miscellaneous questions which will be asked by the interviewers, like what is message broker, how it is used in microservice, explain the RabbitMQ, or if you are using Kafka, explain the Kafka. What all are the benefits of Apache Kafka, when to use, how do we handle asynchronous communication in microservice? What all are the role of DevOps engineer in microservice? How do we handle the failure in microservice architectures? What is Saga patterns? How we will implement the Saga pattern? Explain the use of event sourcing in microservice. What all are the key metrics monitoring in microservice? And how do you handle microservice versioning? So these all are the top 100 Java with this microservice interview question. So if you are going for this Java with microservice interview question, there will be multiple possibility for this advanced concept, microservices, Spring Framework, cloud deployment testing and performance, security, deployment, data, and others. So these all are the questions which will be asked. If you want the answers for this, just you edit this, and inside this edit with answers, if you mention here, so you will get all the answers related for these questions. So what all are the questions we discussed just now? So there will be some answers based. So if you want to prefer the answers for these questions, just you type in the chat GPT, you will find it. So I got this proper answers from based on the chat GPT. So just follow this and let me know what type of questions you want for the next, so that we will prepare according to that. Yeah, thank you.